Family is the most important thing in my life, and it should be the most important thing in our nation's life too. We're reminded of that this week. Academics studied every single mass shooter since 1960. Guess what they nearly all had in common? Childhood trauma. But it goes way beyond even that. At some point, I want to lay out for you all the data and research on family. We don't have time to do that tonight, but trust me, I have worked on this issue as a policymaker. I've been through all the evidence. I've talked to the experts, and there is simply no doubt that the best single thing we can do to promote economic security, economic opportunity, social justice, and social cohesion is to make sure that every child is raised in a stable, loving home. But we are a long way from that today. Broken homes are increasingly the norm, except for the rich, where marriage rates are rising and divorce rates are falling. It's fashionable to dismiss marriage as old-fashioned and restrictive, except, of course, for gay and lesbian people where it's cool. And that's the point. Marriage should be for everyone. As I often say, I believe in marriage equality. In fact, I believe in it so much, I even think straight people should get married if they want to raise a family. So let's get positive and practical. There are things we can do to encourage families to come together and stay together. Reverse the incentives in tax and welfare. So instead of getting more money if you raise a child apart, you get more money if you're married. Practical help, like home visiting, which is proven to reduce stress and help families stay together. There's lots more. We just need to focus on this issue. Kira, it feels to me like it's just left off.
Yeah,
and it's
home
so
visiting
fun.
From who?
Local organizations. Don't get me. Lots of.
You know, I'm like, no, I don't want the government coming in my house.
It's not the government. It's nurses typically.
Oh no.
And
well, if you're not on welfare, you don't have to worry about the government.
You know what, Steve? I get what you're saying. And
no, I just want to say, okay, fine. I'm now going to bring the evidence. So, the best evaluated social intervention of all time is the Nurse-Family Partnership, which was pioneered in Colorado, local level, and it literally. I tell you why it's so important. It helps with the sort of practical things that actually can end up making a couple, driving a couple apart because they literally, they don't get any sleep, they don't know how to do it.
Is it voluntary or compulsory?
It's voluntary.
Okay.
It's help. It's practical help. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Often with this whole question about marriage and what it's like, oh, what can we do? Big social trends. In the end, it's practical steps.
But
for example, if you get more money for being apart, it's not surprising, and that's what you do.
That's what we're dealing with in the black community.
That's what black conservatives are saying to African Americans all the time. These policies have destroyed our family structures over the past 30, 40, 50 years. So what do we do to encourage family togetherness, to encourage stronger family units?
And the data is
and what's
clear.
the answer to that question from your point of view?
You know what? I think that for me, it shouldn't be, single parent households shouldn't be normalized in the way that they are. And this isn't a black thing or a lower middle class thing or whatever. It's far too normalized. And I think that it is wrong for it to be normalized in that capacity. I think that honestly, when we talk about these mass shootings, when we talk about most of the people doing these shootings are young men, I think that there is a crisis with young men in America right now. They're growing up without fathers. When you look at Larry Elder, he says over and over and over again, fatherlessness is a problem. So we have to deal with that. I feel like young men need fathers, they need to work, they need stable family structures.
I mean, look, I just totally agree, but we've got to get beyond, it's not a criticism of what you've just said, we've got to get beyond sort of saying that. And by the way, actually, just saying it itself is an important part of dealing with the problem because you've got to kind of change that conversation. But we also need practical steps we certainly got to stop the government from incentivizing family breakup, which is what happens right now. Tell me.
Well, that's it. I mean, whenever you put a tax break on something, you're funding that idea effectively. So we recognize that. At the same time, we live in a society where, especially like with gay marriage, where you're looking also at extended family. That there's got to be a recognition that when we talk about family and we can talk about community, that it maybe won't necessarily always look traditional, but it's easier, as an example, when there's at least a male influence in the realm. If there isn't going to be a mother and a father, like I'm the product of an affair. My mother was 40, unemployed, and suddenly here I am. And so I don't know who my father, I know who he was, but I never met him. He was never a factor. Many people are raised in those environments, in single-family homes, who turn out okay. They do.
By the way, I'm another one.
Yes.
That's like, this is not a judgment.
But there was
This is not a judgment on
watching. This is also, though, about the fact that extended family matters. Influences matter. The influences of teachers who played a big role in my life. My Uncle Ed played a big role in my life. So we have those things we can't deny. And of course, what is exacerbating, I think, is technology isolating people on top of going home to no parent because you're a latchkey kid. All of these things, the economy, technology.
Well, this is why
the diminishing of men and what their roles are with their children.
These are community issues, but that's why I always get my hairs raised to you when you go straight to, we need a government program to do this. Like, no, these are really, private charities do address these things. We should be empowering local communities and families
totally agree.
to be taking these steps.
But the point I just wanted to make with that is that the practical help that doesn't sound, sometimes the sort of intellectual policy wonk people just sort of talking these broad sweeping terms, but literally simple things like helping, with tips on how to, for example, there's an amazing piece of evidence, which is that the majority of breakups happen within the first year of birth of the first child. Why? Because it's an incredibly stressful time. The baby's keeping you up. You kind of argue about it. Just practical help with that. Anyway,
we had our practical help through our church when I was married. That was where we got our
That's a great example, and that is all these things that used to do that job are declining.
Absolutely, and I've always said I think that fathers are very important.
I know.
My father wasn't around when I was growing up. I went to the military at 17 years old. Those drill sergeants were my father.
Okay, yet again, out of time. I just want to say one last thing. Really important. 'Cause I've been through this. It's one of the reasons politicians shy away from this is because everything you say, people interpret as some kind of judgment on an individual. You're a bad parent. No, that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is what is in the best interest of the country. And the best interest of the country is that we help encourage to get to a point where every child is raised in a stable, loving home. All right, big topic. We're going to get back to this. I can see there's a lot of aspects we couldn't even have